the first two machines in here were two Mark II printers. What are their names again?
Emma and Kylie.
Emma and Kylie, right. I have to remember all these names. So the first two Mark II machines that came in here were your first attempt at low volume production and of course R&D. How did you find the learning curve when you first had them? Clearly we came down and we helped you, and to an extent we were both learning together. We were learning on things like that and other ways of producing parts. But how did you find the learning curve? Was it okay, intuitive? What was it like for you?
I think the first thing you've got to learn is that you can't take a part and then say, I can now 3D print it. Yeah. So you have to design for 3D printing. And I think that probably for us was the biggest learning curve, is that how do you take a part you've currently got and either redesign it to print, or how do you redesign what you're doing inside a machine, to then allow it to be 3D printed. Yeah. So I think the design part of it is important. So you're learning about things like printing circles, 45-degree angles, that's a learning curve. Threads, that kind of thing. We've talked before about the fact that you can get down to an M8.
I noticed there's some inserts.
Yeah, and you'll see on this one, for example, we use this. This actually uses carbon fibre and Onyx. We use this as a support rod in the machine, and so it has carbon fibre on both sides, to the left and right, but we put two inserts at the end. Now that was a stainless steel part that we were having made. But again, we were having to buy 500 at the time. It's also things like this, for example, where this would have been what we call a wash and drain filter, where it was made out of stainless steel, but one part of it was spun, and then the other part of it was then punched, and then it had to be welded together. Well, by 3D printing it and then putting an insert in and a bolt through the middle, and interestingly that is what that sits on top of.
Okay, all right.
So we learned also about how to use other things within that design process. So things like heated inserts, threads, bolts, that kind of thing that you can then. This is a really good example, a con clamp terminal. So we print this part here. We then put 4 heated inserts at the bottom. We then print the clamp. And then we take a part that we buy in and just screw it on the top. This was a part that was discontinued actually by RS Components, and had we have gone with an alternative, we'd have had to have redesigned the product to be able to take the part. So rather than having to redesign the part, we designed the part for 3D printing. So that's been part of the learning curve. What else you can use? There's a learning curve with the type of material, where you can use that material, how you can mix together different materials. So there is quite a learning curve on that. The machines themselves, that isn't a huge learning curve because they are very simple and very straightforward. So the harder bit is before you get to the printer. Once you get to the printer itself.
So all in all, not too painful to get to a point where you were getting satisfactory results, which is great to hear.
Yeah, and I also think it's enjoyable. It's